Hello, manifestors. So today I'm going to consider a question that I get a lot. And that question is, what do I do between my imaginal act or my assumption and the manifestation of my desire? A lot of people are asking when they are in the middle, when they are on some bridges, what they should be doing. So this is the question we are going to answer today because many of you have that question. Please, if you are new here, subscribe to my channel, like the video, comment, and share so more people like you can become master manifestors. So before we discuss what you should do between now and the manifestation of your desire, let's talk about what you shouldn't do, because many people who are actually asking me the question are actually doing exactly what they shouldn't be doing. So we should always start by not doing what we shouldn't be doing, even if we are not doing so much what we should be doing, right? But a lot of times, anyhow, by not doing what you shouldn't be doing, you would be doing the right thing, in other words. So let's start with a quote from Neville to know what we should be doing and what we shouldn't. And then we'll talk more in detail about this. Many a person will say they want something, but forget about it a week later. This law is based upon a principle. If you want something, you can have it, but you must be willing to give up what you are now in order to be what you want to be. That is the only price to pay. No sacrifice is required outside of giving up the state in which you found yourself and moving on to the state where you want to be. For they are only states. So here Neville says, the only price to pay when you want something or someone, right? When you want to be someone, you have to give up who you are now. Because if you don't do this, it's called being double-minded. And being double-minded will never ever bring you your desire. Because when you are double-minded, it means that you are more of what you believe that you are presently than what you want to be. So the price to pay is to give up completely who you are now. So how do you do this on a regular basis? How do you make sure that you are not double-minded and that you are truly living in the end or from the end as much as possible? Well, you become the observer of your thoughts rather than acting and thinking on autopilot from your old thoughts, from your old beliefs, from your old state. This is the only way, especially at the beginning, that you can be sure that you are doing it correctly. Are you still reacting and thinking from the old self, from the old man, from the old state? Doesn't matter how you call it. You know what I mean, right? From the old personality that you do not want to be anymore. If you are honest with yourself, you should be able to tell, right? You should be able to observe your own thoughts and tell if you are living in the end or if you are living from the old state still. So the number one thing not to do between your imaginal act and the manifestation of your desire is do not tell and retell the old story over and over. And the best way to do this, the best way to know if you are doing it or not, it's to be the observer of your thoughts. Number two, do not react to the 3D situation. If you keep on reacting in one way or another, talking about it, feeling sad about it, dwelling in it. All of this is reacting to the 3D. If you react to the 3D, you are delaying your manifestation. So do your very best not to react. Not to react doesn't mean you ignore it. You know it's here. But you don't want to spread it by thinking about it obsessively or by talking to other people about it, because you are spreading it. The law doesn't stop. It's not like there is a button that stops it when it's convenient. It works 24/7 all the time. So if you react to your present situation, current circumstances, you are just creating more of it. All right? So stop reacting. And number 3, don't micromanage. Don't try to micromanage your current circumstances or your bridges, because a lot of people are trying to do this. Once you have done your imaginal act is creative, because that's where God is. So number 1, when you imagine, you should imagine as God, as Neville said, right? Imagine as God. Don't imagine from your ego self in order to get something. I have been telling this more and more recently because I've noticed that a lot of people still imagine from the ego self that needs something or someone. When you imagine, you're supposed to imagine as God, meaning knowing that your imaginal act, if you do it correctly from the first person, you imagine that you are that person that's imagining as God, that is going to manifest all the time, not sometimes. The only way you are going to delay your manifestation is by doing all the things that I'm telling you here not to do. But if you don't do those no-nos, if you refrain from doing that, then your imaginal act will naturally, effortlessly, and by law manifest. So the number 3 thing not to do is to try to micromanage and try to think from your rational mind, what should I do now? What could I do now? The answer is nothing. Just let the law guide you. If you ever have to do anything, it will be an inspired action. And I've talked about inspired action so many times. And inspired action is something that you do naturally, effortlessly, without thinking. If it's not that, it's not an inspired action. So what you have to do between your imaginal act or your assumption and your manifestation, it's nothing. It's live your life normally, naturally, as you would live your life regardless. Now, a question that I get a lot about specific people is that, okay, I live in my end, but in between, I have to deal with my SP in this regard or that regard. What do I do? Well, you have to understand that when you go to the end, and that's the only way to imagine the right way, it's to go to your end goal, okay? Not the last day of your life, right? That's not what it means. It's go to the end goal. Go to where it means that you have your desire fulfilled, right? So in your mind, in your imagination, you live in the end, but the bridges, they're not going to be at the end yet. Obviously not, because they are bridges. So how do you react to the bridges? Well, you just live through it. You just go through it. That's what it means to just live your life and to let it happen naturally. You live through it. You just act, because it's all an act, okay? Anyway, this world is all an illusion. It's all a game. So you play the game, right? So you already are in the end in your imagination, but in between, it doesn't sound, it doesn't look, it doesn't smell like the end. That's for sure, it doesn't. But you play the game. So as an example, when I went to the end on a simple assumption, I didn't even do an imaginal act when it came to my specific person. Do you think that the next day or the next week or even the next month we were in a relationship? No. I had to play the game. And that's what I'm asking you to do. That's what you should be doing. Just play the game. So anything that's happening between now and then, it's just natural. They are natural bridges. They are all bridges, by the way. Everything that happens between now and your imaginal act of being in the end, they are bridges. Just walk through the bridges. Don't question, what should I do? Should I do this? Should I do that? Some of you are like walking on eggs, I feel. From the questions that you are asking, it feels that you are walking on eggs and don't know what to do and almost froze by like, oh my God, what should I do? What you should do is just live your life normally. So, USP, for example, you hardly know that person at this point. And in your end, you are in a relationship with them or you are even married to them. Of course, they're not going to act like they are your husband or wife right now. They are going to act like they are an acquaintance, right? So you play that game. You are an acquaintance to your SP. And then they are going to be someone courting you. Okay, well, there's someone that is flirting with you. And then they are going to be your date, your boyfriend, your girlfriend. Well, they are going to be that. Just be that, right? And all those bridges will gradually and naturally take you to your end. If you understand the process, and if you understand that's how you manifested your whole life, you are going to stop asking questions every 10 minutes. What should I do? What should I do? What should I do? How should I act? You should act normally at the level that you are at now in the game of life. And if you do this, that should prevent you from freezing, as it seems that some people are doing. Being completely frozen by fear. Being afraid of living your life naturally. And asking me questions like, what should I do? What should I say? Live naturally. Just mind your end and just live your life at the level that it's at right now. And I promise you, you will know what to do. You will know. The only reason you think you don't is just because you are analyzing these things too much. You have this analysis paralysis. So let's take Neville's words again to see what you should be doing. Stop trying to change the world since it's only a mirror. Man's attempt to change the world by force is as fruitless as breaking a mirror in the hope of changing his face. Leave the mirror and change your face. Leave the world alone and change your conception of yourself. The reflection then will be satisfactory. Neville. So by going to the end, by imagining that you are who you want to be, and that's going to include a new concept of yourself, a new self-concept, right? You are changing your world from within. And when you do this, there is nothing to change in the world. As a matter of fact, Neville says here that you should leave the world alone. And the thing is, every time you react, every time you ask yourself or someone else the question, what should I do? Should I go left? Should I go right? Should I do this? Should I not do this? You are not leaving the world alone. You are reacting again and again to the circumstances in the world. So to recap briefly, what do you do between your end goal and now? You just live your life normally at the level that it's at right now. You don't try to micromanage your bridges. You just go through your bridges. And you don't react when anything negative is happening in front of your eyes. Don't react means you don't close your eyes and pretend that it's not here. You just let it be. You just let it pass like a bad cold. You know you have a cold, you know you're sick right now, but you know you're going to feel better because you know that eventually it's going to pass. And that's what you do with your current situation. And definitely, you stop telling the old story to yourself, number one, and to other people. I hope this was helpful, guys. If it was, please remember to subscribe, like, share, and comment. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.